Hey y'all, welcome back to another video, and we're finally back with the Pulsar. So the Pulsar has been kind of down for the count for the last year and a half, almost, well, it's coming up on 2 years. But long story short is 4th of July in 2024, I was showing the car to some friends. It had about 75 miles on the new build. I thought it was good to go. Did a couple pulls and a low oil pressure light came on, and then it would proceed to stay on when it was at idle. So then started knocking a little bit, and then I took it to the engine shop. I had them do an entire bottom end rebuild. And the engine was at the shop for 367 days. So that's why it took so long. That's why I haven't seen it. There was nothing to talk about, no progress made or anything. Probably could have done some things here and there, but had some other things going on in my life and needed the money to go elsewhere. So we're back with the Pulsar, and I am super excited to get it back on the road. Like I said, it's been almost 2 years since I've driven it last, so it'll be good to get behind the wheel again. The other thing that the engine shop did say was that they think the oil pan's a little too small and there's no proper way for the oil to return back into the sump. So I don't know if there's a common upgrade to do for the oil pan for larger capacity and then potentially a longer pickup tube, but I do have just got in the mail today, actually got a mechanical oil pressure gauge, so I'll be putting that in the car to replace not really replace, but for the time being, to have a mechanical gauge instead of the factory electronic one that's in the center console there. So that way I can get a proper reading and make sure that that gauge isn't messed up or anything. Unfortunately, I don't think I'll be able to run both at the same time to really compare the pressures to make sure they both read properly, but at the very least I'll have a mechanical one that I'll run for the foreseeable future until I know this engine is good and I'm not going to have any oil pressure issues. I'll probably have that gauge in the car for a couple months just to make sure. We're going down to Tail the Dragon again, yearly trip, here in the next about a little over a month. So hoping to have this ready and tested and sorted by then. There's a lot of tiny little things outside of, getting the engine in the freaking car, but there's like the passenger window won't go down, my handbrake light doesn't come on the dash, so tiny little things that I'm hopefully going to have sorted by then. The big thing is just make sure the car runs. I don't need all that stuff to work, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff to do on this car still. Now, as far as the actual engine goes, there's been no major changes. It's pretty much all the same motor that I've had in the past. I still got to put on little external things like the water lines, pump. There's a couple other things. I got to put the hoist mounts back on. But all in all, it's still the same motor. Still the same car, still the same drivetrain. So nothing too interesting to show. Probably not going to show the installation of the engine back in the car because you guys have seen that 15 million times and I've already covered everything. Granted, those videos aren't the highest quality, but all the information's there and that's the important part. So, and people might do it differently. You might have a hoist, or you might have an actual 2-post lift and lift up the car and drop the whole drivetrain down like the service manual tells you to, which would be really nice, but I don't have that luxury. But yeah, engine back in the car, and then we can go from there. I'll give small little updates like, oh hey, it's back in the car, oh hey, it's running, stuff like that, because that's the interesting stuff. But as far as getting it back in the car, I'm not really going to show any of that. All right, so it's been about a month since the last clip, and there's a couple of reasons for that. Number one, there was a lot more messed up on the engine than I was really hoping for. I wasn't expecting it to be perfect. I was expecting to do a little bit of work to it, but there was a lot of stuff messed up. And number two, I may have broke a power steering line. So the big setback with the engine was the pilot bushing wasn't installed, and I also didn't receive it back, so I had to order one and then put it in myself. I honestly probably could have just went to the parts store and got one, but I ordered the same one, the ACT one, that I've been using in the previous builds that has worked well, and that took like 3 weeks to show up. But that being said, the engine's all back together. To include the drivetrain and everything, I decided to go about doing this a different way just because I'm waiting on the power steering line to come back in. So I decided to put as much together as I could because of the way that the downpipe is. I can't put the turbo, the manifold on to include the alternator. There's a whole reasoning for that, which I probably have covered in previous videos. But for now, this is pretty much done and ready to go inside of the car. I cleaned up the engine bay decently well. There's still a couple areas that are grimy and whatnot. But the big change that I'm thinking about making is the catch can bracket, which normally sits over there because that's the way Cusco designed it. I'm thinking about potentially putting it in here and creating a bracket off of this hole to over here and just bending it over so it can fit. This is gonna have to get relocated. Normally sits here. Not super sure about it. If it sits here, if the harness will reach and whatnot. So we'll see about that. But there's a couple different little things that I'm doing. The other big one is this guy here. So I have gone to a mechanical oil pressure gauge from the factory electronic one, just because it's a solid line running into there with oil. And I know the oil pressure light came on last time, which, you know, it obviously doesn't come on till like 6 or 7 PSI. So that's way too late. So hopefully that mechanical one will give me more of a warning, make sure the oil pressure is proper. Because the dude who built the engine said that the oil pan seems pretty small, which I do agree. It's only like 3.5 quarts. But the oil pan seems small. So he thinks at higher RPMs, the oil might not be returning fast enough to the sump for the pump to do its job. So we'll run the mechanical one for a while, see if that works. I'll definitely have an oil pressure light in the meantime because the sensor's not in it. Have an adapter to replace it. But that should hopefully give me a little bit more peace of mind and make sure the oil pressure is good, because that's pretty important. So there's a couple other things wrong with the engine that I'll put up on screen now, but big thing was that some of the bolts weren't put back in the right spot to include the valve cover dress up kit that I got from Mazworks. So the inserts were all chewed up, which, you know, not great. And then also some of the bolts were for that dress up kit were stripped, and then also proceeded to strip out new threads on the oil pump. So I'm having to work around that, and it's really frustrating, but at least the engine's all back together and everything should be good. And then for the power steering line that I snapped, yeah, that's supposed to have this fitting on it. The bolt, the flow bolt, the banjo bolt, whatever you want to call it, was really stuck in there, and I decided I couldn't get it out with a ratchet because I was afraid I was going to snap the line, so I hit it with an impact and to snap the line regardless. So, because these just come straight out of the rack, this goes back up by the brake booster. So I ordered a new one from a dude from the UK who was parting out the car, just an OEM line with a soft line as well. Just do all of it and hopefully that should work. But that soft line was the really big issue on what's been holding up the build, because it's all the way back there in that back corner of the engine bay, and it's significantly easier to put it in while the engine's already out. I'm in no rush. I would have liked to have taken it down to Tail of the Dragon because that's also coming up. Video on that very shortly after this one comes out. So I'm just saying, screw it. I'm gonna take the Lexus down to Tail of the Dragon, which you guys will see, and I'm just gonna take my time with the Pulsar, make sure it's as good as I can get it for the time being until I inevitably dig back into it here in the future to do more suspension stuff and eventually come back to the engine bay and redo all of this stuff in there. So yeah, still lots of stuff to do on the Pulsar, but that's for way down the road. So hopefully next time I take a clip, it's going to be of the engine back in the car here in a couple days, because that line's pretty close to getting delivered. And we can go out for a drive pretty shortly. All right, so we got the entire motor back together, oil's in the car, power steering fluid's in the car. I'm not putting transmission fluid or coolant in it because this is just first start. But I do have the coil unplugged right now just to make sure it makes oil pressure. I got the gauge hooked up, make sure there's no leaks anywhere under starting pressure. And then we'll move to actual first startup from there. So here's the engine. Nothing too spectacular. It's the same setup that I've been running, nothing different. So fingers crossed that it actually works. Okay. That oil has definitely progressed. So you know what? We're gonna continue cranking because battery still seems like it has a good charge. All right, so we're getting about cold oil, obviously. We're getting about 35 pounds of pressure in the cabin, so that's good. So go ahead and connect the coil. Hopefully the engine's not completely flooded. And let's check for leaks. That's a lot of fuel. Fuel is pouring out of that line right there. Bottom of the filter. That's cool. Oh yeah, that was loose. That's significantly tighter now. So that's good. All right, now we full send it. See if she runs. All right. Let's see how she does. That's not what I want to hear. What was that issue before? It ran. Well, it runs, so that's a start. Something's not right though. Every time I press the throttle, maybe TPS is set wrong. It should be set in the neutral position, and it's definitely not. The slow crank is strange. I fixed that last time with the ground. Chances are the ground could have gotten dirty again. Let's start it one more time. And there we have it. That is successful. That's what I like to see. Oil pressure is great. Oil pressure, cold oil, at idle, about 1500 RPM, is about 45 pounds. This was reading kind of weird. It was reading pretty high with the factory gauge. So mechanical one looks like it's reading more accurately, which is fantastic. It's the way it should be. The car runs. So I guess we put coolant in it. We put some transmission fluid in it. Put the axles back in before the transmission fluid because I messed that up one time. I got like a quart of oil all over the floor, and then potentially driving it tonight. That would be really cool. So the car's all back together. On the startup, everything seemed fine, except it seemed like it was running on 3 cylinders instead. So that's something to figure out, but it's good enough for a drive. So we got the OZs back on there. These bad girls, they look so good. But yeah, so we're gonna take this out on a drive and see how she does. Oil pressure is holding good at about 50 psi. So that's nice. Oil temp is climbing. But it had the classic hiccups, ECU trying to remember what to do after being dead for so long. So we'll see how the drive goes. We'll see what the oil pressure is like at idle here. It's about 30 psi, so that's nice. Making about 60 psi there. First time getting into fifth. Boost controller, I'm only running wastegate pressure, about 7 psi. The factory is 10, so might be running a little rich. That's fine, better than lean. I love this car. I was only like half throttle. Oh shit. Man, I'm so happy to be back in this car. It's so fun. And with the test drive completed, I think that's where we're gonna end the video. I was talking to my roommate, and in his car, his MX-6, he runs 1540. The service manual for the Pulsar say run 1030s recommended for standard applications, but I was noticing at the end of the drive, PSI, when the oil was warm at idle, PSI was dropping all the way down to 15. Oil level was good. It was like maybe 1/8 of a quart below full. So I think that running a heavier weight oil should be good for getting me that PSI that I'm looking for. When it was colder, about halfway through the drive, it was getting plenty of oil pressure, like 50 to 60, upwards towards 5,000 to 6,000 RPM. So I think that heavier weight oil is going to be a good idea. I still have to time the motor. I still gotta try to diagnose to see if it actually is running down a hole, because it was hesitating on throttle. You can probably see that in the video, but I tried to get on throttle and it would like wait a second, then the turbo would come in and it'd start to go. But then even then, it didn't seem like it really had all the power it was supposed to. So got to diagnose a couple things, time it. I have the proper spark plugs, got to put those in, do another oil change just to make sure everything's good, running that heavier oil like I said. And then I think that's really it. So hopefully more Pulsar content coming in the future now that I have the engine back and the car's running. So thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, want to see more, like, comment, subscribe. Thanks. So I noticed that when I was editing this video that on the end of the first drive, the part that I cut out because it was like a 20-minute clip, that it sounded like I had a little bit of knock. So I went back, found a point in the video where I'm like, okay, that sounds to start like it's the issue. Definitely sounds like she's breaking up. Making about 70 psi of oil, about 5,000 RPM. So oil pressure's good, which is nice. Fast forward to when I was pulling into the neighborhood, and it's very apparent. So I drained the oil to put in the thicker stuff that I wanted to, and sure enough, this is what it looked like. So fun fact, it's not what you want your oil to look like when it comes out after driving for like 10 miles. It's not good. Not good at all. So it's not great. I don't know what the plan is because I drove it like 6 miles and it started knocking again on a brand new motor. Well, still the same rods and pistons as the third rebuild, but this one is a brand new crankshaft, new bearings. I gave the entire short block head and everything to the engine shop. Obviously they didn't do a great job. I could take it to them under warranty and have them fix it, which would, like, yeah, it's free, that'd be cool. But at the same time, I don't really trust them to do any good work. So I'm kind of at a pickle here. I don't know what to do or what I want to do after. I'm taking this clip after the Tail of the Dragon trip where I took the Lexus, and I really enjoy driving that car and it makes me want to actually build it. So I'm like tempted, do I get this car running and driving, spend the money to get it running and driving so I could sell it for at least a decent bit of money, so then I could put that money towards the Lexus, because if I sell it now in this condition, I'm looking at being lucky to get 10K out of it. So I don't know what the right answer is, but right now the curse continues, and I'm probably gonna have to do bottom end rebuild number 5. Well, not probably, I'm gonna have to do bottom end rebuild number 5, or I could sell it as is and take a massive loss, because I bought it for 13 and I'm probably in it close to 15 or 16. So, and then obviously sell it for like 10 with all the extra parts that I have for it. Like, it sucks because I really enjoy this car. It's super cool, it's super unique, it gets a lot of attention, it's fun to drive, it makes all the right noises. But the price of the parts, the rarity of the parts, and all of that stuff, it's super hard. There is a good amount of information out there. I might just need to reach out for some people who have a lot more experience on this platform than I do. I'm not super well versed in the SR20. I've learned a lot, obviously, over the last 3 years. It's it's so difficult to get anything done on this car when I break a power steering line and then have to wait 3 weeks for it to come in and stuff like that. So it sucks. I hate making videos like this, and it sucks for a multitude of reasons because, you know, I just want to drive the car and I can't even put 10 freaking miles on it before the engine dies again. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to try to find some proper information online or find somebody who's super reputable that knows these motors decently well, even if I have to drive 6 hours, trailer the engine down there, because it's going to be way cheaper just to take the engine on the stand to a machine shop like I have in the past versus obviously taking the whole car down there. So I guess that's going to be my first step. I'm going to try to find some information online, see if people have run into this issue. The other thing is it's not an OEM crankshaft. That's my big thing, because oil pressure was technically within manufacturer specifications. So that part should be good. So the two things that's probably is either bearing tolerance, the clearance, or the tolerance for the journals on the crankshaft, because obviously I had issues with the first one, put a brand new one in it for this rebuild, and potentially having more crankshaft issues. I mean, this crankshaft here didn't have a Woodruff key cutout on the snout, so I had to have them put that in so it would work. So I already know that brand that I'm buying isn't super consistent in their QA. I mean, a rod journal out of round from the factory, brand new, is a pretty big red flag. So yeah, I'm gonna talk to some people, see what I can do, see what options there are, and potentially see if I might be able to do it myself. Because if it's a crankshaft and bearing tolerance thing, then I can try to remedy that myself, because I have all the tooling for it. I have all the special tools. I have all the calibrated equipment to do an engine rebuild myself. It's just that I thought I would have peace of mind from having a shop who's been doing it for 40 years. Granted, we have a drag strip 2 miles down the road, and that engine shop mostly deals with all the V8s for the drag scene. That being said, it's an engine. It all pretty much goes together the same way. You even have the factory service manual to go off of to get all the information, to find the proper tolerances and everything, and everything's just so frustrating. Anyway, I'm gonna cut my ramble here, and I guess try to figure out what the plan is on the Pulsar. I'm half tempted just to cut my losses, because it's been such a headache and it's had so much stress. I waited 22 months to drive this car again to not even get 10 miles down the road without an issue. I don't know what the answer is, but so I guess I'll see you guys in the next one. Hopefully spirits are higher.